Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jess and this is my February-March book haul. So we actually have a lot of things to talk about today. There's a lot of books, and so what I've done is I broke them up into their series, if I have multiple books in a series for this haul. And if I count the series as one book each, then it comes out to 34 books. So this is going to be a long one, but we're going to try to make it as short as we can. But yeah, this is going to be fun. So let's just get into it. So the first book I have today is Live by Sadie Robertson, and this, my sister told me that I should read it, and it is a motivational, inspirational book about just like living a fulfilling life and feeling purposeful in everything you're doing, and it just sounds like a very good read, and I'm excited to have it on my shelves. Book number 2 is going to be Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. So this is a Regency romance following a woman who is joining the suffragette movement, and in order to like really be a part of it, she has to convert a man to believing the same way they do, and she is tasked with converting the Duke, who no one else can convert, and they end up falling in love, and it's just supposed to be so cute, and so I'm excited to have this one on my shelves. The next book we have to talk about is Wayfair by Alexandra Bracken. This is the second book in a series. The first one is called Passenger. It is right up here. But this, I know it follows two POVs, and I don't really know that much about it, but I know that the one is a girl who has lost her entire family, and all of a sudden she is thrust into this whole new world where she is supposed to like journey across the sea to find something, and it turns out she's inherited like all this stuff from this family she didn't even know she had. And yeah, it just sounds like such a good time, and I'm excited to have book 2 so that when I finally do pick up book 1, I can go straight into this one as well. The next book is My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jodi Meadows, and this is the reimagined story of Lady Jane Grey, and it just sounds so good, and it's supposed to be so cute and so funny and just so much fun to read, and so I'm excited to get this one on my shelves. The next book we have to talk about today is Amy and Roger's Epic Detour by Morgan Matson. This follows a girl named Amy whose father has died in a tragic car accident, and since this car accident she has been terrified to get behind the wheel. Well, her mother has moved across country, and so it is Amy's responsibility to take the car from California all the way to Connecticut. So then comes in Roger, who is a family friend, and he is also having to make this trip for one reason or another, so he volunteers to drive the car with her in it. And so they embark on a cross-country road trip, and I'm sure a lot of things happen, but yeah, it's supposed to be so cute, and I'm excited to have it. The next thing we're going to talk about is our first series of this video, and that is Sisters and Smile by Raina Telgemeier, and this is a comic book, not really comic book. This is a graphic novel series that follows Raina as she's telling her story of her and her sister in this first one, and her when she gets her braces for the first time in the second one, and it just sounds so cute, so fun, and just so amazing. I have a lot of sisters, so it's going to be interesting to see this dynamic between her and hers, but yeah, I'm excited to have these on my shelf. The next thing is also another series, and that is Sunny Side Up and Swing It Sunny by Jennifer L. Holm and Matthew Holm. And this follows a young girl named Sunny, and in the first one it is summer vacation, and she is going to Florida to spend it with her grandpa, and she's so excited because Florida is so great. But she gets there and he's in like this retirement area, and so there's no one there to like hang out with. It's just a bunch of old people, and so she's really upset. And then in the second one we follow her after summer is over, and she is trying to navigate middle school for the first time. And yeah, this is also another graphic novel series, so it should be a really quick read whenever I do pick it up to read it. So yeah, I'm excited to have these on my shelves. And next we have another graphic novel series, and that is Frazzled, Everyday Disasters and Impending Doom, and Frazzled, Ordinary Mishaps and Inevitable Catastrophes, both by Bookie Vilot. And these follow a girl named Abby Wu who is entering middle school for the first time in the first one, and she thinks that everything in her life is just doomed to be a disaster no matter what. And so of course, if you have that mindset, going into middle school is going to be interesting. So we follow her. She goes into middle school, and then in the second one, just as she thinks middle school might not be that bad, something else happens. So yeah, this sounds super cute, super fun. Again, graphic novel, super quick read, and I'm excited to have it on my shelves. The next series I have to talk about today is books 3, 4, and 5 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which are The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian. So Percy Jackson is a middle grade fantasy series that follows a boy who is a demigod. He is the son of Poseidon, and he is thrust into this world after not knowing about it for most of his life. And he goes to this place called Camp Half-Blood, and he has to go on all these quests to save the world. And yeah, it's just super fun, super classic. I read it when I was little, and I want to reread it so that I can continue with the rest of like the companion series that Rick Riordan is writing. So yeah, I picked up 3, 4, and 5 this month. The next series I have to talk about today is going to be another reread for me, and that is the Testing series by Joel Charbonneau, I think is how you say it. I probably pronounced that wrong, so just excuse me for pronouncing that wrong, but I probably did. And it is the Testing, Independent Study, and Graduation Day. And this follows a girl, and it's set in a world where the top students from all throughout the colonies are brought to the main capital to go through this thing called the Testing, and once they make it through it, are allowed to attend the university and become the next leaders of this nation of the Commonwealth, is what they call it. And yeah, so we follow a girl who has been chosen to go to the Testing, and she's super excited, and then she gets there and she figures out not everything may be what she's always been told it is, and she might not agree with everything that's going on. And so yeah, we follow her through 3 books, and it's super great. I loved it when I was younger, and so I'm hoping that I will love it just as much now. And now, taking a break from series for just a little bit, we have The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. So this is actually 2 timelines as far as I know, or at least it starts at a different timeline. We start this book in 18th century London, where men are mysteriously dying and no one can figure out why. Well, it turns out that there is this group of women who are apothecaries, and they are working underground, and they have discovered this. They have made this drug that will kill somebody with no like visible signs. So it's basically untraceable, and they give it to women whose husbands are beating them or just like being terrible, and they need to get out of it, and they have no other option, and so they give it to them and they do that. And the husband ends up dead, and no one can figure out how, and the woman gets a life of freedom. So that is what we start this book as, and then we jump forward to present day when we have a girl who is walking in, I think it's the subway, I don't know. She's walking somewhere underground, and she finds a bottle of this poison, and it just goes from there, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Also, this cover is gorgeous. I love the little beetle on the back. It's so cute. But yeah, I love this cover. I hope that I love this book, and yeah, that's this one. The next book I have to talk about is The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken. So this follows a boy named Prosper Redding who does not think he is very exceptional until he figures out that he actually has a demon living inside of him. So as you can imagine, this is going to go all sorts of crazy, And yeah, I'm excited to read it and I'm happy to have it on my shelves. The next book we have to talk about today is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. So this is set at this school, and the guy who founded the school, his wife and daughter go mysteriously missing, and all that's left is a simple riddle, and it's signed Truly Devious. And it has become one of the most famous unsolved mysteries. And then in this book we are following a girl who's starting her first year at this school. She considers herself a true crime expert, and she decides she is going to solve this mystery. So yeah, it sounds super fun, super great, super exciting, super interesting, and I'm excited to have it on my shelves. The next book I have to talk about is another short little graphic novel, and that is Real Friends by Shannon Hale and Lewin Pham. And this follows a girl who has been best friends with another girl since they were little, and they make it to, I think, middle school, and her best friend becomes one of the popular girls, and in order to be friends with her you have to bully people, and our main character does not agree with this. And so it's a story of her realizing that maybe just because you've known somebody for a long time, they're not the best person for you to be hanging around with. And I think that's such a good lesson for people to know, especially young girls, because it tends to happen a lot. But yeah, I'm excited to have this one. So the next book I need to talk about today is Champion by Marie Lu. So this is book 3 in the Legend trilogy. I have book 1 and 2 on here somewhere, but this is a book that I read the first 2 when I was in middle school, and I never picked up the 3rd one, but I need to pick it up so that I can finish the series and figure out how it ends. But it follows a girl named June and a boy named Day, and June is the Republic's star prodigy, and she is just the most brilliant child they have, and she's going to be their next big military commander. Sorry, my cat's moving the camera. But she is leading that life, whereas Day is a master criminal who is the most wanted person in the Republic. And so she is tasked with, after it is said that Day has killed her older brother, June kind of decides that she needs to be the one that catches him and finally brings him to justice to get revenge. And so she sets off to do this, and a lot of things ensue, a lot of fun adventures, and yeah, that is this one. The next 2 books I have are part of the same series, and they are books 4 and 5 of the Elizabeth Salander novels, and that is The Girl in the Spider's Web and The Girl Who Takes an Eye for an Eye, both by David Lagerkrantz. So this is a weird series because the first 3 books were an original trilogy, and they were by a different author. I can't remember his name, but it was a different author, and I loved the first trilogy, and then this guy picked them up and has written more, and so I picked these up because I'm curious and I want to see how the writing style changes and to see if I enjoy these ones as much as I did the other ones. But this follows a girl named Elizabeth Salander, and she is a genius master hacker. And in the first trilogy we're following her, and we're also following a guy named Michael who writes for this magazine called The Millennium, and he is trying to find out who this hacker is all throughout the first novel, and then they find each other, and it just gets blown into a whole big story from there with a bunch of different people trying to get them trying to find a bunch of people, them trying to save things from happening. It's all kinds of different random stuff, and I loved it so much in the first 3, so hopefully I enjoy this author's take on this duo. The next 3 books are the first 3 in a 4-book series. And that is Beautiful Creatures, Beautiful Darkness, and Beautiful Chaos by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. So this is a series that I don't really know a lot about. I picked it up because the covers really stood out to me in the store, and also because they were all under $5 each, because I don't know why, but they were all under $5 each, so it was a steal, and I was like, why not pick up another series that I'm probably going to love. But all I know is that it follows a girl who moves into this small town, and we also follow a boy who has lived there his whole life, and he has been having dreams of this mysterious girl, and when she comes into town, he wants to just get closer to her and get to know her and figure out why he's been having these dreams. And she reveals a secret that has apparently been hidden in plain sight, and so it makes them grow closer in their relationship and also leads them to discover some things about the place around them and go on a bunch of adventures. A lot of the blurbs say that it's for people that like Twilight or True Blood, so I'm thinking vampires, werewolves, things like that. So we'll see what happens when we get to these, but I'm excited to have them on my shelves. The next two books I have to talk about are actually part of the same series, and that is The False Prince and The Runaway King, all by Jennifer A. Nielsen. These are book 1 and 2 of the Ascendants Trilogy. I do not have book 3, but hopefully I will be able to find it soon because I really want to read it also. But I read this first one when I was in 6th grade, and I never continued along with the series, so now, as is the trend apparently, we are picking it back up to finish it. And this is set in a kingdom that is on the brink of a civil war, and so in order to fix this nobleman named Connor decides that he is going to put a fake prince on the throne because the king's long lost son, the king's son has been lost for a very long time, and Connor decides that if he can find somebody to impersonate this son, that if he puts him on the throne, it'll unify the kingdom and everybody will go back to normal. And so he does this, and he gets four orphan boys to try to compete in this contest to become the one that's going to impersonate the prince. And that's where we meet our main character, Sage, who really is the only one that understands what Connor is doing and is not sure if he approves of it or not. And yeah, I remember loving the first book, and I'm hoping I love it just as much the second time I get to read it, but these are now going to be on my shelves. The next books I have is a 7-book graphic novel series, and that is The Babysitter's Club, and this is Christy's Great Idea, The Truth About Stacy, Marianne Saves the Day, Claudia and Mean Janine, Dawn and the Impossible 3, Christy's Big Day, and Boy Crazy Stacy. So this is book 1 through 7 in the Babysitter's Club graphic novel series that is by Raina Telgemeier, I think is how I say it. I probably just butchered that, but that's okay. And this is book 1 through 7, and it is a fun little middle grade graphic novel series following 4 friends who decide that they want to start babysitting. And so they start babysitting and they realize it's a lot harder than they think, and they go on all these adventures, and that's what all of these books are about. And I'm hoping when I do pick them up, they're just going to be fun, short, breezy, cute little reads. So yeah, these are now on my shelves. The next book is the start of a well-known fantasy series that I have not yet read, and that is going to be Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. So I'm not really sure what this is about, but I know a lot of people have read it and a lot of people have enjoyed it. All I can tell you is that what the back says here, and it says, a vicious power struggle quickly escalates to war, and 4 young people collide against one another in the rise of Elementia, the magic that can topple kingdoms and crown a ruler in the same day. So this is apparently really good, and I'm hoping that I enjoy it just as much a lot of people that I know do, and I'm excited to finally have the first one on my shelves. The next one I have to talk about is another middle grade graphic novel, and that is going to be Invisible Emmy by Terry Levinson. So again, I don't really know what this one is about, or I don't really know how to describe it other than what's on the back, so we're just going to read that. So it says, crushes, humiliation, drama, middle school. This is the story of 2 totally different girls, quiet, shy, artistic Emmy and popular, outgoing, athletic Katie, and how their lives unexpectedly intersect one day, when an embarrassing note falls into the wrong hands. So this just sounds so cute, little coming of age, quick read because it is a graphic novel, and I'm excited to have it on my shelves. So the next book that I have to talk about today is one that my mom has been trying to get me to read for the longest time, and that is going to be My Sister's Keeper by Jodi Picoult, I think is how you say that. But this follows a girl who has a sister who has leukemia. And so this girl, our main character, for as long as she can remember, has gone through countless surgeries, transfusions, anything you can imagine, because she is the blood marrow match for her sister. And so she has been tasked with keeping her sister alive by going through all these things to physically keep her alive. So she gets to this point where she is starting to question if it's really good for her to be doing this, and if it's right, and if this is all she's meant to be doing, or if there's something more. And so she's starting to question whether or not it's worth what she has to endure. And it just sounds so good, and I'm excited to finally pick this one up so that I can actually talk to my mom about it rather than just have her yelling at me to read it. So yeah, excited to have this one. The next book I have to talk about is 2x2 by Nicholas Sparks. So this follows a man named Russ who is in his 30s, and he has what he believes is the perfect life. He has his wife, he has his 6-year-old daughter, and he has what he thinks is the greatest job ever. And in the span of a few short months, everything gets flipped upside down, and he finds himself without a wife, without a job, and having to care for his 6-year-old daughter alone. So he is thrust into having to navigate the world of single parenting, and it is obviously very hard, as you can imagine that would be, when suddenly he has a chance encounter with an old flame, and he realizes that he is ready to try to kind of play his hand at love again. And yeah, it just sounds so cute, so sweet, and I'm excited to read this one. The next book I have to talk about today is Sarah's Orphans by Bonetta Chapman. So this is a book that follows two perspectives. One is Sarah, whose parents have just died, and so she is now tasked with taking care of her younger siblings, and she's in charge of the household now when she almost runs over 2 kids on the side of the road and ends up taking them home and gets charged with even more orphans to take care of. So she has found herself kind of becoming an adult figure in these kids' lives and having to take care of them. And then we also follow a boy who just wants to live in a quiet place of his own, and so he moves into this house, which happens to be right next to the newly found orphan children. So he is also thrust into their lives, and they just like have to learn to deal with each other kind of, and deal with their own situations that they're going through, and it just sounds so good, and I'm excited to have this one on my shelves. The next book I have today is actually a sort of mystery book, so we're taking a little bit of a turn from what we've been talking about, and that is going to be The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown. So this follows a man who gets a late night call one day because the elderly curator of the Louvre in Paris has been found murdered in the museum, and he is tasked with the help of this other lady to try to figure out why, how, and who did it. So yeah, they end up going on this mad hunt through the museum to try to find clues, and eventually figure out that the clues are hidden in the works of Da Vinci. And yeah, it just sounds so interesting, so fun, so thrilling, and I am excited to read this. The next book I have is Beartown by Fredrick Backman. So this is a story about this small town that is kind of dying off, and they get one big chance to kind of make a name for themselves again when their junior ice hockey team makes it to the national finals. And so the entire town is just so excited, and they love this team, and they're like their idols basically, when a girl steps forward and says that this team did something to her. And the town is kind of in shock and just doesn't want to admit it and doesn't want to do anything about it because they don't want to believe that their team could do something bad, and they also don't want to ruin their team's chances in the national finals. So as you can imagine, this is going to be a super emotional super important book to read, and I am excited to have it on my shelves. The next book I have is going to be Greetings from the Flip Side by Renee, Gutterridge, and Cheryl Mckay. So this follows a woman named Hope who is pursuing the life that she thinks is going to be amazing in New York City with her fiance when he leaves her at the altar. So as you can imagine, that is very emotional, and she decides she needs to get away, so she disappears for what would have been her honeymoon with her husband for a month. And during this time, she doesn't tell anybody where she's going, and they all assume that she has died. And so they even throw her a funeral and just like everything. Like, she is officially dead to everybody that knew her. No one knows she's still alive. And so she comes back to New York City and she's ready to pursue her own dreams and be her own person when she figures out that it's a little difficult to do things like rent an apartment or buy a car when you've been declared dead. So yeah, this just sounds like so fun, but sad at the same time, but fun and cute, and I'm excited to get to read this one whenever I do. The next book I have to talk about is another kind of sad one, and that is Sold on a Monday by Christina Mcmorris. So this follows a man who was a photographer, and he finds this house that said, with a sign that says 2 children for sale, and he believes that it is so sad, so he takes a picture of it, and it's not meant for publication, but eventually it does get published and it leads to his big break, and it brings up a lot of consequences, and as you can imagine, this is going to be emotional and just sad and heartbreaking, and I'm excited to have it on my shelves. The next book I have to talk about is In My Enemy's House by Carol Matas. So this follows a Jewish girl, and she has blonde hair and blue eyes, and after her family is deported and scattered to the winds, she gets the fake identification papers of a Polish girl and moves into the house of a Nazi officer. And they don't think she's Jewish because obviously she has blonde hair and blue eyes, and if you know anything about Nazi Germany, that worked. So yeah, she's hiding in plain sight in her enemy's house, as the title says, and I'm excited to have this one on my shelves. It's also a very short book, so hopefully whenever I do get to read it, it will be just a short, quick, fun time. But yeah, I have this one. Okay guys, bear with me. We're almost done. We have 5 books left, but the first one of those 5 is going to be Shadow on the Mountain by Margie Pruss. So this follows the story of a boy who is living in Norway when Nazi Germany invades it, and he has to become a spy and a courier, and we just follow him for the 5 years that Nazis are in Germany and all his adventures, and it sounds like such a good read and an important time, and I'm excited to have it on my shelves. So the next book that I have to talk about is The Four Winds by Kristin Hannah. So this is a novel that follows a woman during the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl in Texas, and we see her as she's struggling with everything that's going on around her, and also struggling with her terrible marriage, and she's trying to decide if it's worth staying where she is and dealing with everything that's happening, or if she's going to be like many other Texans and flee to California in hopes that it would be better there. But yeah, this just sounds so cool, and it's a time of history that we talk about in like history classes throughout school, but we don't spend a lot of time on it, and so I'm excited to hear a tale from this time period, and yeah, I have this on my shelves now. So the next book that I have to talk about today, we're getting into the final 3 guys, is going to be Ghost by Raina Telgemeier. So this follows a girl whose sister has cystic fibrosis, and so because of this they are moving to the coast of northern California to try to make her sister feel better and put her in a different environment that is going to be better for her, and they end up figuring out that the town they have moved into has a bunch of ghosts, and Maya does not know how she feels about that, and she is not that excited. However, her sister is super excited, so she tries to act brave for her sister, and this is just the story of them trying to figure things out, and it sounds so cute, so exciting, and I am happy to have it on my shelves. The next one I have to talk about, second to last, is going to be Brave by Svetlana Chmakova. think I said that right. I probably didn't, but I tried. This follows a boy named Jensen who is and always dreams about being the hero and saving the day and saving his friends. However, when he wakes up, he has to go to middle school and life is completely different. He is shy, he does not like to talk to people, and he doesn't have a lot of friends. When one day he gets dragged into the newspaper room and he has to join this club, and they make him try to uncover behind the scenes secrets and all kinds of stuff, and it's one that's like about learning to just be brave and just have fun. And so yeah, I'm excited to have this one on my shelves. So the final book that I have to talk to you about today, it's another graphic novel, and that is going to be Roller Girl by Victoria Jameson. So this follows a girl named Astrid, who is 12 years old, and she has always done everything with her best friend. So when Astrid decides that she's going to sign up for roller derby camp over the summer, she assumes that her best friend is just going to sign up with her. However, her best friend signs up for dance camp and ends up going there with her new friend. And so Astrid kind of has to figure out how to do things on her own, whilst trying to figure out how the heck she's going to survive roller derby camp. And yeah, it just sounds so cute and so funny, so exciting. I know my little sister loves this one, so I'm excited to have it on my shelves. So yeah, those are all of the books we've talked about today. I'm sorry this video is probably going to be so long, but it needed to be done. If you made it this far, congratulations. Thank you for watching this far. I probably personally wouldn't have, but you did, so yay for you. I give you a round of applause. Let me know down below some books that you have picked up recently. Also, let me know if you have read any of these books that we talked about today, and let me know what you thought of them, as I would love to know and I'd love to talk with you guys. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video, and I, as usual, will link all of the books that I've talked about down in the description. I probably won't be able to fit them all, so I think what I'm going to do is, like, for the series, I'm just going to link the first book in the series in the description, and then you can go from there if you want to know more about any of these. Like I said, I probably won't be able to fit them all even doing just the first book in the series, and if I can't, I will just link as many as I can until it won't let me link anymore. And yeah, that is all I have for you today. Also, I will link my hauls playlist, so if you're interested in any of the other hauls, it's down below. But yeah, that is all I have for you today, and I will see you soon. Bye!